So Grandmaster Flash is here in my house, and we're just talking about the right way, I suppose, one way to be a DJ. Have you got like a one special file, or these are just my bombs? This saves everything.
No such thing.
You don't have one?
No such thing. I used to think that way.
Yeah.
15 years ago, I thought, I thought I was the ultimate master of knowing what everybody would like on this blue marble called Earth until I started traveling. So if I'm in Brazil, the song that was killer in the UK has no meaning whatsoever. And when I was in Germany, and then I went over to Japan, that song that was killer in Germany means absolutely nothing.
But
in
is
Japan.
there one that's like is it
no such thing?
No Stevie Wonder song that just works everywhere.
No such thing. Do they know it? Sure. But if it's a killer, no, absolutely not. I have yet to find that one song that's killer all the time. I may have a few that work, but the positioning always changes.
What kills in New York? So you're playing a show in New York, and that's the beginning of all this. And you know that you get on stage, and it's 2:30 in the morning. What kills in New York all the time?
Oh, there's so much.
Yeah.
It's so much. It's the Mecca, so much. You can play something from the 70s or play something from right now. And if it's the right moment, you got that crowd going. It's just so many songs.
What are your 3 favorite songs to play? You just can't wait to play them every set.
I don't have them.
No?
I never know.
What are 3 that you like?
Stravinsky.
You gonna drop Stravinsky on a set?
You ask me what I like.
I know, but you're gonna drop that on a
what
set?
I like. Hell no.
Come on.
Absolutely not.
What are you gonna drop on a set though?
I don't know. I never know.
You never know.
I never know. I never know.
But Grandmaster Flash has a file somewhere, right? Tonight.
Yes. I travel with 42,000 songs.
Right.
So there's no file.
You travel 42,000.
And I put some in a little set here, a fragment there, and a fragment there, and a fragment there. And I say to myself, okay, when this song's not work in this place, and I just keep moving them around. I'm constantly moving it around.
Okay, so God today, she or he, what is she telling you to play tonight?
Tonight?
Yeah.
I don't know yet. Me and my partner, my DJ partner, Fame, we was working that out today in a hotel.
What if
God
should I start? What if
we don't
know. Tells Fame one thing and tells you a completely different thing? Then what are you going to do?
Okay, well, for example, he's going to be at the club all night. Mm-hmm. And the reason why it'll probably be the most difficult tonight is because Bam is playing. And Bam, me, Bam, and Herc, we come from a very eclectic world. So even songs that I think are hits, I have to multiply my thoughts times 100 tonight because I'm playing with Bam. So,
but are you competitive?
Tonight, I don't have a clue.
So are you going to sit side stage and just watch Bambaataa
No,
play?
I'm going to go. I'm going to read his energy that he leaves.
Right.
I hate coming to a venue and watch the DJ playing before me. I absolutely hate it. It just throws off what I'm thinking. Mm-hmm. It throws off where I want to go because I want the audience to tell me what you want to play first.
Are you competitive?
My biggest competition has always been me.
Right. But you haven't played with Bambaataa in a long time.
Right, and it's not going to be competitive because you play two different styles.
Right.
Of course he's going to try to rock and I'm going to try to rock, but it's not like a setup where I'm battling him and he's battling me. I haven't battled in a long time. I don't think I have to.
Grandmaster Flash is here. This is the reason why if you like hip hop, it's probably because of him, which is quite a weight to carry. If it ever feels like that.
Sometimes when I think about it, but I think about it for 2 seconds because it's too heavy and I don't think about it anymore.
Right.
I just don't.
The genre hasn't been great in the past of taking care of the people who built it, but you're starting to see that change a little bit.
I've never had the problem at all.
You know.
If I would have walked up to Drake, if I would walk up to Wayne, I walk up to Jay-Z, I walk up to Busta, I walk up to Kanye, I walk up to any of them.
They know.
It's no problem. If there's an event going on, I don't have to call it in advance and say whatever. I'm at the front door, they say, you sit right there. I don't have those problems, never had.
But you hear about the guys who started this. I mean, it's not dissimilar to other genres like punk rock and that, where the biggest guys, they broke all the barriers down, didn't get to sell the records, and so the genre moved away from them.
Or did they move away from the genre? See, this is the thing you have to understand, is with anything that's loved by so many people, it will change. And either you work with the changes and you keep yourself in the mix of the changes and keep your own integrity, or you get left behind. And that's what happens. Like, I still promote heavily. I am all over the internet. I still go to clubs and sit in the back, and I still listen to DJs, and I listen for the latest sounds, or I'm calling up, what did I miss? I've been on the road 30 days. What's hot now?
What is hot now? What's exciting you now?
What's exciting me? There's this, what's that song? Hot, whatever it is. What's the guy's name? Bobby Shmurda. He got this song I call Hot and Hot Boy. Hot Boy. It's kind of, and he's a real young kid, and he's got the clubs banging it. You know, I like Drake. You know, I'm always loving what Kanye's doing.
Drake's the biggest thing to come out of Canada since Freshwater. Like, it's unbelievable how much he's on the radio down there.
And this is my 22-year-old son. He said to me about 10 years, I'm going to say about 8 years ago, he says, Dad, there's this guy in Toronto, Canada, who's probably going to be one of the biggest rappers on the planet.
You should see the face.
His name is Drake. I'm like, Drake? When I think about Drake, and no disrespect to him because he is a superstar, but when I think about Drake, there's these cakes that I eat, and it's by Drake's.
Yeah.
So when my son said that, I said, come on, stop making a joke. He says his name is Drake.
Well, he's making cake
and he's
now.
going to be the biggest thing. And his writing and his writings is amazing. So I took a listen. I'm like, oh my goodness, this guy is totally amazing with a pen. He's amazing with a pen. He can visualize what he's saying to you. He's totally incredible. And out of the gate of being an amateur making mixtapes to making a record, but he kind of like did what I already did. So when I just got into the venue, it was just normally do it.
Right.
He was already killer before he signed any deal. He just was Toronto's biggest secret until somebody said, listen, we need to put you in an arena of people. We need to put you in a recording studio so you can take this gift and show the world.
When did you get the sense that the genre had changed to a place where the MC was going to become the star? Because in the early days, the DJ was, and there were MCs. I mean,
Right.
you had the Furious Five, you had the three before. You had, so MCs would come in and out
Right.
and be a part of it.
Right.
And in fact, they weren't even called themselves MCs at the time, all of them, right? So when did you see the shift happen where MCs were becoming the real front of this?
I see the MCs becoming more prevalent. I don't know if they're the front because I still hold my own. When more artists were making more records, and a composition is driven by the beat and the lyrics. So of course they were going to move up in popularity. But I think that if you stay on top of your game, like I don't have those problems.
No. But when did you start to hear MCs take over? In the mid to late 80s where you saw things change? I mean, the Beastie Boys had a Public
When you
Enemy, had
take
Chuck
over,
D.
I don't understand when you say take over.
Well, no, what I mean is like they became, the MC was a big part of the equation. When in the early days, it was really just you guys were DJs. The three of you were
Right.
DJs. You, Herc, and Bambaataa.
Right.
Right. And then all of a sudden, MCs were as equal a part to it.
I mean, you have to realize this here. There's more MCs / rappers than there are super incredible DJs in our genre. So when they started making more records, of course they are gonna be more of the landscape of the hip hop culture.
We're going to approach the anniversary of the passing of MCA. What do you remember of the Beastie Boys in those early days?
Oh boy, I got to meet him when they got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's when I got to meet him because I was invited. I got to meet the rest of the boys. You know, I never really got to really meet him. You know, and you know when I'm asked these questions about the '80s, I don't think that I can properly answer those questions because I'm the creator of why the '80s exist. I'm '70s. So,
Which means you could appreciate you could see the 80s from a different perspective.
I could see from a perspective that it built, that it exploded, you know. But but at the same time, black music on a whole was really powerful in the '80s. So it wasn't just rap; just black music was finally getting recognized, you know. MTV finally said, let's show some of their videos, where at one point it was just all white music. You know, so 80s was pretty big for black music on a whole, for me.
So if you imagine that's the reality, where you guys were making music and weren't even seeing yourself represented on television for a long time, and to now, what's the impact on the music when there certainly is still lots of issues in the world when it comes to racial discrimination, but in the media you see more representation than ever? What is the impact going to be on records? Like, you guys had to do this in a vacuum, right? You had to do this and not be on TV, and you guys broke the doors open, and that's why black music was on TV in the 80s, is because the stuff you guys were doing.
Okay.
So now kids have grown up through decades of them being represented. What will be the impact on the art, you think, on the kind of music they make?
I don't really understand your question.
Well, when you're making music and no one even sees you, that's one mindset, right?
Yes.
So then when you grow up, and it's like this: a generation that doesn't have any hardships around them, right, doesn't appreciate the generation that did have hardships.
Okay.
Now, obviously, there's still lots of racial tension and discrimination in the world, but I mean, musically, it's not surprising when the biggest musicians in the world are black guys. That's not rare. But there was a time when it was, right?
Okay, yeah.
So if that's the case, what do you think the difference is in the art? What's the difference in the music that they're going to put out? I
don't pay attention to that. I pay attention to what I do.
Yeah, but you're a human being, so you observe culture. You help create it.
I created the culture, but I can't control the culture. I can't control how this person is thinking. How are they going to take the culture? Now that they love it, they fell in love with it. Now, what are they going to do with this power? And what are they going to create? I don't think I want to be responsible for that. I want to be responsible for what I do. Mm-hmm. I don't want to politicize this. I don't go into none of that, because what I did was pure, comes straight from thought and straight from love. And when it's coming from love, I don't do politics, which is always polarized or one-sided.
Do you think
you sound like politics right now?
No. It's actually, I'm thinking less politics and more culture, because I think it's really interesting to see. Like, I'd interviewed a bunch of guys from the early 80s who were making really interesting rock music, and they said they thought it was because they grew up in the 70s, and that in the 70s they were able to witness things that were so mind-blowing and so interesting that it inspired what kind of artists they would become.
Okay.
Right. So if you talk about kids growing up in the 2000s or in the late 90s, mm-hmm. it's not as like, listen, you go tonight at your show, there will be people who are there with their kids.
Okay.
There is no generation gap anymore. But there used to be one. So what I wonder is, what do you think the impact would be on music when there's no generation, when there's very little to rebel against, when you're not fighting to be the president because you are the president, right? All that stuff.
But you're fighting to get known. There's more competition now. The competition is stiffer than ever now to get a record, to get recognized, to get, the big tours and the fight is more than ever. But where I come from, there was nothing. So for me, I kind of understand your question, but I really don't, because I come from a time when it was nothing. These records that I use were records that I kind of made these records what they were. I took a composition and recomposed the composition.
Right.
So my perspective on how I see it might be a little different on how they see it today, because I come from love, and I come from nothing, just self-inspiration. True.
But I guess maybe even from the outside then, as a fan, I thought that when I first heard your stuff, and obviously growing up a white kid in Canada, I didn't have a full understanding of it, but when I listened to disco, and then I listened to what you guys were doing, I thought that is a very different representation of the African-American experience. A very different representation.
That's what you thought?
Of course, because I just knew that disco didn't, for the same reason that punk rock came out, because those big 70s rock bands didn't represent the poor working class kids, right?
And this is where I get saddened, is because hip hop from its inception is punk rock. It is rock, it is jazz, it is funk, it is blues, it is R&B, it is disco, it's all these things. It's a collection of all these things is what made the pillars of hip hop. This is where we got our sounds from. This is what sampling was. Mm-hmm. This is what the things were. And a lot of the big hits were samplings of other genres. And sometimes these were samples of songs that were flops. But we took them and regurgitated them and made them what they were and made them hits. So, from my point of view, it comes from love, nothing. There was culture around us, but I was more of a scientist in a room trying to figure out why. There was nothing to inspire me. Things more angered me. It should be this way. So it was like, oh, I like this, and I want to do that. It was like, I don't think this is right. So everything for me is self-love. It's inside, and it's probably why I can still do this today.
But fueled in the beginning by anger.
It was fueled by anger because now, for the most part, it's the way that it should be. DJs play the way that it should be played, technically speaking.
Can you tell when a DJ is being lazy?
Yeah.
Do you ever talk to them? Give them a note from like...
No. I wouldn't do that. I don't judge. I just, I see DJs that are very effective and pay attention to the basics of how to get a crowd going, and I see some that don't care.
Listen, on behalf of, I know you hear this from everybody, but on behalf of me and everybody else who grew up with this, bless you for making this music that you did.
Thank you.
This world wouldn't be as much fun without it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
A pleasure, sir. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.
Grandmaster Flash.